Hey everybody, Big Lyle back for another great video. I hope everybody likes it, and I really hope it's not too long because there's a lot of information. So a few years ago, my good friend Joe from Black Box Silver and Bronze, we had exchanged comic books. He was looking for some comics about PT 109, and I had some comics that had JFK on the cover that I sent to him, and so he sent me back these three magazines. There's one that's in rough shape, but I love the art anyway because it features Alex Schomburg's art on the covers. So the first one, I'm going to show you all three, and then as I'm reading the information to you, if I have to, I'll pick up a book and I'll show it to you. So this first magazine is called Radio Craft. And this one was February 1944, February 25th, 1944. And that one was volume 15, number 5. And this is what the cover looked like. I have shown these on the Friday Night Hangout quite a while ago, but I wanted to do a specific piece about this and the editor and all kinds of information. So I know the cover is torn here and up here. It's really rough, but I love the cover. And these dealt with radio and TV, telephones, all kinds of technology at the time, wartime era. And the next one was also a Radio Craft one. This one is from June 1945. And this volume 16, number 9, another Alex Schomburg cover. It's not torn, it's just the way that the cover was made. And it's the typical magazines of the backs. We're talking advertising other great stuff. So this one was that Alex Schomburg cover. And the last one in this bunch, another Radio Craft one. This one was from August of 1946, volume 17, number 11. Cover looked like on this, and this is what the back cover looked like on this one. And it's just your typical stuff, like wave shaping circuits and all kinds of this type of information. So I'll give you a little bit of information, a lot of information, and as I go through, like I said, I will point out these magazines. So I hope I don't bore you, but it was really exciting going through all of this information. So the editor and the owner of these publishing magazines was a fellow by the name of Hugo Gernsback. He was born in 1884 and he passed in 1967. He was known as the father of science fiction. It was Radio Craft Publications. It was launched July of 1929. It was rebranded. They had a rebranded title called Radio Electronics in 1948. And then it changed names again in 1992 called Electronics Now. And it merged in 2000 with Electronics Popular. And then they changed their title again called Electronics Poptronics. And the last issue was January 2003. So Alex Schomburg did these, quite a few of these covers, but sometimes he was credited as Alex Schonberg, which was spelled Schonberg. And these books measure 9 3/4 by 12. They average, like they sold in the 40s for 25 cents. And now you can find them online eBay and different sites between $20 and $90 Canadian. They had a print because of the wartime paper shortages, where they would usually have a print run of 500,000 plus. These had a print run between 100 and 250,000 copies per issue. And finding these in high grade is rare because of the acidic pulp paper. So this one here that I showed earlier, this one here from February of 1944, this particular piece of equipment here, they call it the SCR-299 Mobile Radio Communications Truck. It was envisioning the TV of the future. Also in some of this magazine, they speak about an electron microanalyzer. It was developed by RCA Laboratories. Early milestones in the electron microscope. So in late 1944, Hugo Gernsback released a rare spoof mini magazine called Radiocracy as a promo Christmas card. And what it looked like just a normal magazine, and then on an angle it had this Christmas card that overlapped a cover, and it's a little bit smaller. I think it was 9 by 7.5 by 9, something like that. They weren't quite specific, but according to these, they were just a little bit smaller, and they are rare. I've seen 3 online, and the price was through the roof. So this one here, this issue here, June of 1945, volume 16, number 9, had an article in here, because it was June 1945. They had an article in here called "An Effort to Finish the Nips." And this one magazine had a print run of between 150 and 250,000. And a significant portion of that copy was diverted to the military libraries, USO centers, and training facilities. Again, high-grade copies are rare. And this one, from August of 1946, is volume 17, number 11. It was a post-war edition. And these you can buy online between $15 and $35 Canadian. And this one had a print run of 150 to 200,000 copies. So I'll give you a little bit of information on the editor and founder of the Radiocraft magazines. And I was floored when I was looking up information on Hugo Gernsback and the amount of stuff that he was involved with, because he was born August 16th, 1884, and he passed August 19th, 1967 at the age of 83. And he left a huge legacy. He was married 3 times, and he held 80 patents with the United States. He founded Radio News magazine and started one of New York's first radio stations, WRNY, an AM radio station that started June 12th, 1925. Now, the history for this kind of seems like I've went through a rabbit hole, but it's all, and how it ends is amazing. So I'm just going to read what I discovered. Hope I don't bore you to death. The station was sold at auction to Curtis Aeroplane and Motor Company, which rebranded it to Promote Aviation with weather reports and flight-related programming. and April 3rd, 1929, which was the auction, and went to auction. And the winning bid was $100,000. Now, in 1933, the owner of WHN, now ESPN/WEPN New York, bought the station to consolidate their frequency. WRNY was officially deleted in January of 1934. WRNY call sign later adopted by unrelated stations in New York, like Rome, New York at 1350 a.m. and Rochester, New York, 680 a.m. And this later became WNYR. Okay, the auction bid of $100,000, a heated bidding war occurred between Curtiss Aircraft's president Clement M. Keyes, born 1876 and died 1952, and the newspaper mogul William Randolph Hearst, born 1863 and died 1951. When the bid reached $100,000, Hearst's attorney requested a recess but couldn't contact him out in California, allowing Curtiss to secure the station. While the radio stations were sold to Curtiss, the company's magazine, Radio News, and Amazing Stories were sold in a separate auction on the same day to a publisher, B.A. McKinnon, which was Bergen Arling McKinnon, who was born in 1880 and died in 1951, for a bid of $500,000. Interesting. Very interesting. So I wanted to touch on a little bit on Hugo Gernsback's life. So with his 80 patents of what I could find, I didn't write them all down because there was way out there. So I'm just going to list a few things that may very well surprise you about this man, because it sure surprised me. So while many were practical components for the burgeoning radio and telephone industry, others were highly speculative and unconventional. So electrical components that Hugo Gernsback had a patent for were relays, electrical switches, cord terminals, and various types of condensers. He had a patent for a dry cell battery, and the patent number was 842950, granted in 1907, for a new method of manufacturing batteries. He also had the isolator in 1925, a famous helmet to eliminate outside noise. It featured a separate tank oxygen to prevent the wearer from getting drowsy, which was like scuba diving gear, is what I'm assuming, because it trailed off, like paragraphs were this long. I wasn't going to get into it. He also had a patent for the ososphone, OSPHONE, ososphone, a device for the deaf to hear through their teeth via bone conduction. He also had a patent in 1912 for grooming tools, a hairbrush and comb, and the U.S. patent number was 1016138. You can look these patent numbers up and it'll give you all that information. He also had a patent on a hydraulic fishery, 1955, a giant pumping mechanism, U.S. patent 2718083, designed to suck fish directly out of the water for processing. And excuse the noise, but my notes. Then in 1918, he had a patent for an apparatus for landing flying machines. He also had a patent in 1921 for submersible amusement devices. And I'll just list a few of the things that he had patents for: radio horns, tuned telephone receivers, acoustic apparatuses, luminous electric mirrors, electrically operated fountains, and specialized postal cards. He was credited with being the first to conceptualize Tel eyeglasses, a 1960s precursor to virtual reality goggles. That one surprised me. He also had a patent for ear cushions for early telephone and radio headsets. The U.S. patent for that was 1514152. In 1911, he had a patent for something called a telephot, P-H-O-T, telephot, a telephone user to see the persons they were speaking with. And in brackets, it says it was like 100 years. You could see 100 years into the future. They called it FaceTime, Slash, and Zoom. He also had a patent for something called a detectorium, a silicone crystal detector. And they also had a company called the Electro Importing Company, EI Company, founded in 1904, recognized as the first electronic supply house. He also had a patent in 1905 for the Telemco wireless telegraph, the world's first home radio set offered to the general public. It was a battery-operated spark gap transmitter and receiver kit, and it could send Morse code up to a mile. Now, so he also had, it was called a historical advertisement. It had approximately a 1-inch ad. It measured 2.25 inches by 1.125 inches in a newspaper, I'm assuming, or in a magazine. And it says that November 25th, 1905, his company placed the first ever advertisement for a complete radio system in Scientific American magazine. The kit was sold for $8.50, which would be $300 today. So a little bit of a tidbit about that. So when the police in the area saw this advertisement, they thought it was a scam. And so when they tracked Mr. Gernsback and had a discussion with him, Hugo asked him, well, what made you think that it was a scam? He says, well, you're selling a whole radio kit and all for $8.50. And so I guess Gernsback told him the idea that it was for, a radio system that he wanted everybody to have. So if he was to price it up too high, nobody would have bought it. And the comment that they received from the police at the time was, well, it's so popular, you should be asking more money for it. So I don't know if they upped the price or not, but that was a tidbit that had went with that historical advertisement. Now, this is what caught my eye. Like, I mean, I love all kinds of electronic gadgets as well. But in the last part of this, so he had a mail order, Hugo Gernsback had a mail order business, and it was located at 32 Park Place, New York. And then the company expanded, and it moved to 233 Fulton Street, and he had a retail store at 69 West Broadway. And the original Fulton Street building was demolished in the 1960s to make way for the construction of the World Trade Center. In the 1920s, Gernsback focused on publishing. His hardware operations were succeeded by a company called Radio Specialty company, or RASCO, RASCO. So that's all I had on Mr. Gernsback. I mean, I could have went into great detail about his patents because there was a lot, because I read it all, and there was like, I mean, I scribbled down 6 or 7 pages. I would have had 40 pages. So I'm just going to show you the magazines again. So the information was pertaining to this. This is Alex Stromberg cover as well. And that one was August of 1946. The other one here is June of 1945, which was Alex Stromberg cover. And the other one, which is in rough shape, was from February of 1944. So I gave you a little bit of information about this. So I hope everybody enjoyed that. And sorry that it was over 20 minutes long, but it was a lot of information that I wanted to get through about the founder of a lot of these publishing companies. Now, I hope you enjoyed it, because I certainly did. I love sharing all of this. I know it kind of goes off track more than just a magazine. And so, I mean, when you have William Randolph Hearst and Clements Keyes, who's part of the Curtiss Airplane and Motor Company, that to me is exciting because I love airplanes and all kinds of stuff like that. So I thought I would share it with you. So if you like this, like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you very much for everything. This kind of stuff that I research and let everybody in the world know about it makes my day. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate everybody's support. May God bless. Goodbye.